Good morning to all of you. Today's chairman, Professor Prabhu, Professor R.M. Singh, Professor S.K. Sharma, Dr. R.K. Singh, Dr. Rakshit, the previous directors, Dr. Saidas, Dr. O.P. Yadav. I see among the gathering many other distinguished scientists and staff members of the directorate, which has now become the institute, and Dr. M.L. Jad from CEMET, distinguished participants, ladies and gentlemen. Today is an event which is of great relevance to any institute, particularly from the point of view of not only having introspection, but also in the context of looking forward as to what should be the our future approach in terms of achieving newer heights. So I would like to congratulate you for whatever has been achieved. Much has been said with regard to the program, which perhaps was one of the oldest crop improvement programs to begin with. Our country's All India Crop Improvement Program is known globally as one of the most successful programs, and we started with maize. So it is the right time to also recognize the contributions of the coordinators, the first coordinator, Dr. Anil Dhawan, Dr. Joginder Singh, Dr. N.N. Singh. There were also people like Dr. Mukherjee, Dr. S.K. Vasal. He was that time contemporary, 2 years senior to me, but we were doing PhD together. And then Dr. Saidas, Dr. P. Yadav, and others. We do appreciate whatever has been done and achieved. The history, as has been told, is of 55 years. It has grown step by step from the coordinated program to that of Directorate of Maize Research in 1994, and then as Maize Institute in 2015. So I always believe that the change is must for any growth, for any institution, and there had been changes. So we should not feel bad that we became institute little later, but maybe you had sound foundations of very eminent readers and researchers to begin with. Having said this, I also now feel that time has come when maize has to be seen as our future crop in the country. We had green revolution through wheat and rice. That green revolution was for household food security, which we need badly. But now time has come that our major goal of SDG 2 relating to zero hunger requires nutritional security. And I see among the cereals, particularly maize, offering great opportunity for having next green revolution in India, which will be for nutrition security. Having said this, I also feel that maize is like soybean, a wonder grain. Soybean is called as wonder grain, but I would say among cereals, maize is a wonder grain as well. Much has been already said, so I don't have to repeat that. But I would like to say that in our country, we have been using this less for food than for other purposes. So our first challenge is whether in future we will like to depend on maize as a food crop. And that has to be seen in the right context and what should be done to see that it doesn't lose its importance as a food crop. At this stage also, I am happy that much achievements have been already mentioned, and I would like to congratulate you, Rakshit, as Dr. O.P. and Saidas also said that the contribution of your hybrids for the breeder seed requirement has increased. Also, RK Singh has lauded those achievements. So you need to be congratulated on your foundation day. Uh, you say you are, it is seventh foundation day, so you are a young institute. It is good to be young because young can achieve. And we have great hope in our young generation. And what is required is that you need to have a right way forward. And you not only change, but you should be globally wise and act locally. And in that respect, let us see where we stand vis-a-vis global major achievements. When and many of Saidas had reflected, and O.P. Yadav also reflected that, and Dr. S.K. Sharma, that we really lagged behind, and maybe due to the kind of understanding at that time of our leaders that probably for a country like India, we needed an approach where there is less of dependence on hybrid seed, which probably would be difficult or costly, and therefore either go for composites or synthetics or three-way crosses. So maximum we were uh, stuck up at three-way cross. And at that time, I happened to be the Deputy Director General Crops. In fact, I was studying in IRI, though I studied on wheat, but I worked in maize laboratory because my chairman didn't have any lab of his own, being dean, Dr. A.B. Joshi. So he had assigned me to Dr. Dhawan. So actually, I was all the time interacting with Dr. Mukherjee, Dr. Vasal, Dr. Anand Singh, and seeing how exciting uh, developments were taking place and the crop is. This is the most research crop Dr. S.K. Sharma has already mentioned, starting from those original work using Mendel's laws to that of heterosis, and then to those jumping genes of Barbara McClintock, and all breeding methods got defined around it. Even in cytogenetics, the most research crop is maize with 10 chromosomes. We started making slides with maize seeds. And, so I would not like to go again into those details. Uh, we have come a long way, but when we started reviewing why our maize production and productivity was not increasing, it was struck up till 2000 around 10 to 12 million tons. And our productivity was not increasing beyond 10 to 12 quintals per hectare. And that time, then that slide which OP mentioned uh, gave me a real uh, jolt that while countries like US and even China, uh, much was known about research in China at that time, but I'm sure they benefited from those materials from US. That using single cross hybrids, they were harvesting more than 7 tons at that time. And we were stuck up at 1 ton. And then discussed with the scientists, we found out that we don't have single cross maize hybrids. And I said, why don't we have single cross maize hybrids? Why can't we get when they are harvesting and they have this material in US? Then we talked to the private sector, private sector said, sir, we can bring it, but there is an issue of piracy and you don't have the plant breeders' rights. So, Prabhu, their right act emerged. So we started with twin approach. One, to start our own hybrid program because the private sector would not bring, they would depend on double cross hybrids or three-way cross hybrids. And therefore, we will be always stuck up with the second generation technology. So either we do it ourselves. So we started with, at that time, the new seed policy also had been brought in. And along with that, the hybrid, special hybrid production program came in. And we said we have to go with it. I'm glad people like Sai Das and Anand Singh and other breeders also uh, realized the importance and worked hard. And by 2000, they came up with the single cross maize hybrids. And we also started this draft. And in the record time, we got the PVPR Act approved by the Parliament. I don't think in the history of Parliament you will find an act to be approved in just less than 5 years' time, from drafting to approval. And at that time, then private sector also started coming up because they had this plant breeders' right and come up with their own hybrid materials, and our own hybrids were there. And then when we reviewed what we found, that in 1 decade's time, things completely changed. We doubled our maize production. And the productivity which was stuck up immediately jumped. And now I think I'm told it is around 3 tons. Yet when you compare with the productivity levels of say US, which was at that time 7 ton, is now 10 ton. And when you look at other countries in terms of productivity, we are number 7. So when you look at Argentina, has 7 ton, China 6 ton, and China had 6 ton even that time when we were reviewing. And Brazil again around 5.7, or Indonesia even is higher than us. In Asia, China and Indonesia are the 2 countries having higher productivity than India, and India is still at 3.1. So no doubt at one stage we feel that we have done great job and achieved, but on the other side we have miles to go. So when we look at global scenario and compare ourselves, fortunately in area we are number 4. That is a good sign. Of course, China has highest area under maize, which is around, I think, 30 million hectare. We need to also improve our area. So there is an option now, whether to go horizontal or vertical. Recently, we had reviewed through TAS to bridge the yield gaps. And we find that these yield gaps are really quite alarming and need to be addressed, and addressed by various states. The majority of states growing, rather more than half of the maize produced in the central India, Madhya Pradesh, Andhra Pradesh, Karnataka and Rajasthan. And the area there is almost 80% rainfed. So obviously we have to see whether we can make these gray areas green through maize is one option. Using conservation agriculture approach, using possibilities there are, but we don't have those. So policy support for GM crop like maize. So hybrid, herbicide tolerant maize if is also available, perhaps will make a difference and make a great impact there. So when we see this, I do feel that globally, when you look at maize is number one crop among cereals. Many people may possibly not be aware. Uh, it is number one uh, crop producing something like about 1,160 uh, million tons, whereas wheat is number two, which is 765 million ton, and rice is 500 million ton, which is number three. In India, on the contrary, rice is number one with 44 million hectare area and production of 120 million ton. Wheat number two with 30 million hectare area and production of 109. I presume that the wheat will be number one soon, taking over rice, because you can't afford to continue with that large area. So if from rice area is to be, uh, you know, shifted, then the potential crop is only maize. That's what I see. And whether it is in irrigated or whether it is rain-fed, both. Whether it is Eastern India, whether it is Northeastern states, and whether it is rain-fed rice. Rain-fed rice has to be on priority replaced first. And that's where again maize has potential. So we have to target our approach also for research relating to these areas. It was said that we have to improve productivity in, say, irrigated rice wheat system. We have to, already there is policy support. Even Haryana has announced 7,000 rupees per acre for diversification if one will like to grow maize. Chhattisgarh has come forward with 10,000 rupees per acre for again diversification. So there are opportunities. And when you look at Bihar, the winter maize especially is amazing growth and amazing progress, more than 7 tons. So it's not that in India you cannot achieve. And my thinking is that we have to make now maize, because the use of maize is multifarious. Every part of it has its commercial value, and it has tremendous opportunities for livestock sector, whether it is for poultry or for livestock, for feed. It has tremendous opportunities also for industry, starch. It has tremendous opportunities also for now ethanol production, biofuel. And that's another emerging area which we should not lose sight of. And therefore, the challenge is to increase the area under maize, which is currently around 10 million hectare, and maize productivity, which is 30 million ton. So I'll come to this in my last part. But at this time, I would like to say that when growth rate among the cereals is the highest, as was mentioned before, more than 3.5 highest compared to rice and wheat. And when we need to diversify our rice wheat system, for which I see tremendous opportunities are there, at least 10 to 15 million tons rice wheat area in the Indo-Gangetic plain has a great option for it. It can also be taken to spring maize. It can be also thought of in winter maize and winter areas and so on. So in that regard, I look at opportunities by going forward. And going forward, when we reviewed recently, we found that still area under hybrid coverage in maize is not more than 70%. Why can't we make it 95 or 100% when this is the technology and available with us? Forget about GM maize. the current maize technologies, and the all private sector is interested, all multinationals are interested in having maize as hybrid program in India, and making lot of profits. So in that respect, and the national system, whatever hybrids we have, how it can reach the end user. The major challenge there again is of policy paralysis, that we have been not able to partner with corporate sector to gain from the achievements in public institutions for hybrid research in most of the crops, including vegetables. And there you need more innovative approach, because when you just give this technology on few lakhs of rupees to number of people, there is no incentive. It has to be exclusive licensing, maybe not for entire country, but for a specific area. Area-wise, exclusive licensing can be for 5, 6, 7 corporate sector. And then partnership for sharing the benefits, access and benefit sharing, about which private sector is willing. But I think public sector has not yet been able to come out with clear policies. If hybrid had gone to the farmers, at that time, I will tell you, I was that time Deputy Director General, we got a policy decision done that all seats of the parental seats of inbred lines and would be made available free of cost to the private sector. Now, when that was done, what is the problem that we cannot have partnership built private sector when their involvement is critical for going forward, and when public sector institutions are not able to bridge this gap of higher seed replacement through hybrid seed. This is one point. The other point is that we have to think in terms of current challenges. Challenges, I have already said, increasing productivity. We cannot lag behind. What is our target for the next, say, 2030? By the time SDG has to be met for the nutrition security for maize, by 2020, what is our target? And in that respect, I see that we need to think in the context of, again, I would say, when Prabhu, you were there, when we were discussing whether India will achieve 100 million tons of wheat. And even Professor Dr. Rajaram was saying, Dr. Saab, it is too ambitious target. And we said, no, we will achieve it. Though we didn't achieve it by 1995, but we did achieve in 1998 because there were 2-3 drought years. Otherwise, we were on the target to achieve that. So if you don't have any target, if you don't have any goal, so maybe on the foundation day, you take a decision. And in my view, there are two ways. As I said, either you increase area and increase production, because the demand is tremendous. And your current demand, I'm told, by 2030 would be around 45 million ton for maize. Why not we think of doubling the maize production now by 2030? Which means today you are 30, make it 60. So you meet your demand 45 and you have access either for export or for diverting it for ethanol production. US has already diverted it. About a decade ago, they started. Their diversion is not only 1%, 10%, 20%, it is now 40%. 40% of maize in US Otherwise, maize farmers would not survive. And here we are also thinking of doubling farmers' income. We are thinking of providing incentive, and incentive will be only through new opportunities and options. And government has come up with a policy of blending ethanol to the level of 20% by next 5 years. So who are going to provide that? And our commitment to COP26 and Paris Agreement is to reduce our dependence on fossil fuel. And therefore, we have to go aggressively on renewable energy sources. And only sugarcane and maize are the two best options. So I see this. So there are two options. One is from current 10 million hectare area, can you make it 15 million by next 8 years? And if that, where? Which way? I see northeastern region has great potential. Rice wheat area has great potential. But you would require technology and of course policies, I'll come to those, and incentives to the farmers, which are already starting. So either area you try to increase from 10 to 12, 15 million ton, then you can continue with your productivity in a slow pace from 3 to 4 ton. But I would say you have great potential of increasing productivity because technology is already there. It's only an issue of, as was rightly said, what you need now is a twin pillar approach, not only the single pillar of around genetic enhancement, but the other important pillar around natural resource management, good agronomic practices, and maybe conservation agriculture and so on. So in that context, from 3 to 4 rather, I would say we go from 3 to 5 tons. And if you go to 5 tons, then you don't need more area. You need area from 10 to 12 million hectare only. With 5 ton and 12 million. Take your 60. Just a thought. So you have to really now see where are the best possibilities and what we can do, and give a blueprint to the government. Let there be a mission for maize production in India to double the maize production in future and help all states to go towards better natural resource management. COVID-19 has given that lesson that we cannot continue over exploiting. Our economic survey of India for last 3 years now telling, no doubt we needed green revolution, but now when we have enough food, people are saying it was over exploitative technology. But without that, we would have been dependent and eating those red wheats, which I used to eat when we were importing 10 million tons of wheat at that time. So this is one point. But for this, you would require public-private partnership. You would require new innovative ways, maybe through the plant variety protection, some kind of initiative by which there can be intellectual property rights well protected. Because there are concerns also relating to that in the private sector. Incentives by the government, which are in right direction. I think why not Punjab should come forward? Why not UP should come forward? Are they not having same problems? More water requirement and so on. And then we have all the potential of expanding area in the northeastern region. And maize is a crop which is grown in all countries in the world. Even wheat is not grown in all countries, and rice is also not grown in all countries. 170 countries grow maize. And India, you can grow everywhere. All states grow maize, starting from Kashmir to go to Arunachal Pradesh, or you go to uh, south. So what is that strategy? Then obviously we would require, when we want to diversify and go towards maize, and when you look at the example of most sustainable system of production in the rainfed area, it is maize soybean system in the US. If that system would have not been there, possibly they would have not been able to continue with that conservation agriculture system which they have. And the same is now taking place in case of Brazil and also in Argentina. And Australia is also following the similar approach. So we will have to think while we bring the maize in rice wheat area, we will have also to think of bringing the maize as well as soybean in those more exploitative production systems. Having said this, I said about use of maize for biofuel. The policy for GM crops is again stopping us to achieve. Maybe in your paper you can say, if we want to really achieve and make maize a future crop of the country, then there is no other way but to go for GM approach. Biofortification. Let us remember Dr. Vasal's contribution. I wish he was participating today, but he is in today Amritsar for some family function. I did talk to him. A great achievement indeed. No one would, we would at that time never imagine that this negative linkage will be broken between the lysine and methionine. And with the higher content of lysine and methionine, you are able to have double the production of poultry and pigs in just 20 to 25 days. Now, this is the best fortified crop. Now we are talking of other fortified crops, iron rich. Here it is protein rich, and our country is deficient of protein. Maximum protein malnourished children in India. So I see great option. You have already QPM hybrids, but then the policy on QPM, because QPM, there is a penalty, yield penalty, which has to be understood, which has to be. So if it is there no yield penalty on Basmati, Prabhu?
Yes,
but you have higher price for Basmati.
Yeah.
So why not higher price for when we are getting more protein for our, nutrition security in the country? But that message has not gone. We have to tell, we have to bring different message, and that's what I see. We are possibly losing an opportunity, and we have to be more aggressive. And for policy decisions, the best message should be informed knowledge through scientists reaching the policy makers. So have we done that job ourselves? Is a challenge which has to be taken if we could not do before. And then no doubt we would require doubling of the research support. Whatever is being given to maize or maize breeding program and coordinated program, this has to be further strengthened. You have to define which center has to undertake what kind of activity, which kind of hybrids, QPM or single cross or even GM approach. Why not? If not today, I'm sure maybe not today, tomorrow GM food crops will have to come. There is no option. We can't go Sri Lanka way through organic farming. I think we are going to, but the question is, we act only when there is crisis. When there was crisis, we had all support. At that time also there was resistance for dwarf peats, that it will, uh, eliminate all our biodiversity, and it is all going for maize and wheat, and all other crops are getting reduced priority. So we have to, in that context, think of that. Uh, there has to be incentives for biofortified maize or QPM maize. We have to think in the context of long-term policies. India has great potential for export of maize as feed, and also for industry already there. But for feed, because we are very strategically located, eh, even China is importing, having higher area. They are also importing maximum of grains, whether it is, they also consider soybean as food crop. So uh, soybean, maize, or even wheat for their feed purpose. So in that respect, we have great potential for the South Eastern countries, and we have another potential for value addition, about which you had mentioned, Rakshit, and value addition in the context of going for baby corn, sweet corn, popcorn. Mexican food is becoming popular now in India. Tortillas, burritos, uh, the popcorn which Dr. Saidas provided me. I found the best one. My grandchildren are asking, where is that popcorn seed? Why can't we have some more? So, and young generation is all fond of that kind of food. So it will, the food demand will increase on maize. We have also been eating in the past, but we had our own difficulties in terms of, retaining the maize flour for a long time, and also making chapatis from maize. But with all these advancements and technologies for value addition, I have no doubt that maize would be more used than what you are talking today as a food crop. So having said all this, uh, I would like to conclude, because my time is already over, uh, that let us uh, rather decide today, because if not today, we will be late. And Foundation Day is the day which can give us some kind of impetus to do yet more if our previous achievements have been appreciated. So that appreciation is already there. For many a times, this appreciation doesn't come from above. And uh, you have great strength. We have young generation, young scientists. They are, I think, more energetic, more knowledgeable and informed than possibly we were. We had to go to library and sit till midnight to get a journal. And here you get all information sitting on your desk today. And the technologies, the genome editing offers opportunity. Now, when you look at recent achievement of heart transplant in human being from pig heart was transplanted through GM pig, not otherwise. And that GM pig, because of the genome editing of 10 genes, 6 genes were replaced of pig, and 4 genes of human were transferred there. So it was not just done like that. It is not so easy. But these opportunities, could we ever think of that heart of pig will be also tomorrow available for human heart transplant? So sky is the limit. And these opportunities are available. We are waiting for our guidelines for genome editing to be approved. I hope government takes some decision soon. We all have to continue hammering that. Prabhu is doing it, and Mahapatra is also trying hard. And earlier Renu Sook tried her best, but that doesn't mean we should get disheartened. We should continue taking the right message to the policymakers, and they do listen. But only thing is whether we are putting right case before them and convincing them that this is necessary. If you don't convince them that tomorrow you need integrated nutrient management, then they would say that you don't need any inorganic fertilizer. You only can go for zero-based natural farming or zero-budget natural farming. So it all depends on what kind of message is given for policy decision. I had worked with policymakers. They do listen, but you have to have a case. If this hybrid project was not there, this hybrid project came from Prime Minister's office. It didn't come otherwise. And it came because there was objection which I had put on bulk import of hybrid seed of vegetables and cereals. The private sector has convinced the Rajiv Gandhi government and Rajiv Gandhi that time that why not you make the jump in your productivity by importing in bulk quantity. And there was directive from PMO, and I was in fact summoned there that why you are objecting. And then when we argued, they said, okay, yes, you have a case to go in for your own public system hybrids. So how much fund you need? And then just in one day's discussion, got 40 crores at that time. And the project was started in 15 days. So it's not, I mean, that we cannot. And no doubt you need for that, for making all these achievements. If we try to look finally, I would like to say the cradles of success are you need policy support, you need institution. We didn't have an institute on maize. I wanted it long back, but somehow from IRI, the maize breeders never wanted to move out. So I just couldn't help. One would not grow under banyan tree. And that's how I shifted wheat to canal, and I had displeasure from Dr. Borlaug, but then I convinced him later. And he said that this was the right decision. So you have an institute, now you have human resource, now you have to have more research support, you have to build partnership with private sector, and you have to have your future goals very clearly defined. And I see that because I grew with maize as a young boy. In the field, it was only maize which was we eating at that time, or bajra. But maize you could eat right in the field by just harvesting and popping them. So this is a great crop. It has opportunities. Let us see that in future, if not today, in I think 21st century, I am sure maize would emerge as probably the most important food crop in our country. When I say food crop, it is also food for animals, so food, feed, and whatever. So it's usage. So maize will emerge as an important crop in our country because there is no other way out, and we have to go to support it all in all. So with this, I would like to, Dr. Prabhu, thank you, and also Dr. Rakshit, and all other colleagues. And I apologize for taking a little long, but my purpose was to catalyze you, because we cannot now at this stage achieve all these what I have talked. It is all to be achieved through you. Thank you very much.